what's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to one of the most pointless cars on sale today, the Defender 90. This Defender 90 cost 150,000 euros. It features a 5-liter supercharged 525 horsepower V8 under the bonnet. It only has 2 doors. The boot is basically non-existent. It's quite a process getting people into the back seats, and when they are seated, they don't have a window to look out of. So it's not very practical, it's not cheap either, it doesn't have a lot of space on the inside, and it's not very economical. But here's the thing, if you want to buy a Defender 90 and expect any of those things in return, you're buying the wrong car. This Defender 90 is not a car that you buy with your brain. It's an emotional purchase, and its only purpose in life is to make you smile. It's supposed to be exciting from behind the steering wheel, on and off the road. This is not a car designed to take people from point A to point B. It's more a car designed to make the journey as fun as possible. Just like the 718 Spider. Although they are two different cars and can't be compared, their purpose in life is very similar. The driver's enjoyment behind the steering wheel. So the Defender 90, the small one, the one with 3 doors alone. Isn't it cute? It rides on 22-inch alloys as standard, and you can recognize this is the V8 car by the blue brake calipers. But weirdly, Land Rover only fits these calipers at the front. But other than that, the V8 has the same design as the regular car, with the only exception being the twin tailpipes at the back. The cabin is pretty sparse, very basic, and there's quite a few details that hint to the old car. But unlike the Range Rover Sport SVR video I put out a couple of weeks ago, this Defender features the latest infotainment system from Jaguar Land Rover. The screen feels like an afterthought, it looks like it's just glued to the dashboard, but in all fairness, it's very easy to use, it looks great, and the new screen doesn't remove physical buttons. There's plenty of those left on the inside, thankfully. Climbing into the back of the car is quite tricky, and it's a painful process. There's a delicate button that once pressed, it pushes the seat forward, but once you're back there, there's another button you have to push all the time until the seat goes back. In the back you do have decent space, both for your feet and for your head, but it's very dark as the windows are blocked by the ornament thingy over here, but space suffers quite a lot because of the rear seats. As you can see, I can barely fit my filming gear back there. Land Rover says there's 400 liters of space available, but this to me doesn't look bigger than the boot of a VW Golf, if I'm honest. So how does an SUV put a smile on a petrolhead's face? Well, firstly, using that thing under the bonnet up front. You've seen this application in a lot of Land Rover and Jaguar products. Heck, you've even seen it on 2 videos on my channel. The ones with the F-Type and with the Range Rover Sport SVR. In this configuration, the V8 up front produces 525 horsepower, and unexpectedly it doesn't feel as punchy as the Range Rover Sport SVR felt. And yes, it's lacking 50 horsepower compared to that car, but believe it or not, it's heavier. But in my mind, there's no other engine I would want to spec in this car. If I would ever end up buying a 3-door SUV, I wouldn't really go for the sensible engine choice. I mean, think of it, it's like deciding to buy a Mustang, but instead of getting the V8, you're speccing your car with a 2.3-liter EcoBoost engine. It's fine and everything, but it's not really exciting, is it? So how does the Defender 90 feel when it's powered by a supercharged V8 engine? It's pure joy, I'll tell you that much. I can't stop smiling when I floor the throttle and hear that engine scream. It's ridiculous, and not only that, the whole car leans back and the bonnet goes up when you do that. Throttle response is instant, of course, and it all makes for a more dramatic experience. Not being an SVO product, meaning it's not built by Land Rover's Special Vehicle Operations division, excluding the engine, the whole car feels pretty much like a standard Defender. So the ride is not gonna be bone-shakingly hard like it is in the Range Rover Sport SVR. It's all pretty comfortable in here, and the car just wafts along with that V8 barking in the background. Now, even though, like I've said, this is not an SVO product from Land Rover, it did go through some changes to make it cope with the extra power and weight that the V8 brings to the table. The suspension has been slightly recalibrated. We have larger diameter anti-roll bars, stiffer suspension bushes, and bespoke spring and damper rates. Then we have an electronically controlled limited slip differential as standard on the V8 model that has torque vectoring, and basically it will brake the inside wheel of the car, helping this SUV turn. And finally, the V8 gets dynamic mode, which is a driving mode for more sportier driving, and gear shift paddles for, changing gears. Although, quite interestingly, they don't work unless you put the transmission in sport mode. Off-roading is definitely a possibility in this car, of course. It's probably the main reason why it's been built. It has a variety of driving modes that will help you tackle off-road terrain. It has a low-range transfer box for the gearbox, and some pretty cool camera angles to guide you through your off-road course. The angle of approach and the angle of departure are pretty good for what is a 2021 SUV basically, and the air suspension lifts the car quite high up in the air, which gives you a 30 centimeters ground clearance. There's basically nothing this car can't handle off-road wise, but I suspect that this is gonna be what most buyers will end up doing off-road with this car. So conclusion time, I'll be honest, I adore this car. It makes me smile just by looking at it and its proportions. For me, the Defender 90 is pure perfection. It's what all cars should be about. Making you enjoy driving and making you take your car out for a drive just for the sake of it, without any destination in mind. And for that purpose, I think the V8 is the icing on the cake. And yes, objectively, this car has quite a lot of flaws. I've mentioned them in the beginning of this video. But again, this is not a rational purchase. It's not a car that you buy for the practicality or for the fuel economy or for the school run. You get the point. This is an emotional purchase, and the only reason you should buy a Defender 90 is for the smiles per miles it offers. I assure you, once you get behind the wheel of one of these, you'll definitely make a lot more sense about what I've just told you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I only have a couple of hours until I have to return this car, so I think I'll end the video here.